The first thing everyone noticed was the silence, the kind that crashes into a room louder than a scream. In the middle of a bright, bustling daytime diner filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and sunlight spilling through wide windows, a single moment froze time. A young waitress stood with her eyes lowered, her uniform stained, her hands trembling, while a rich girl laughed without shame. And standing just a few steps away, unnoticed by most but watching everything, was a man whose name carried fear across cities, a man whose quiet power would turn humiliation into a lesson no one there would ever forget. Before the story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that even the smallest act of compassion can change a life, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Mafia Boss Tales. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The diner was called Sunnyside Corner, a place known for its red booths, polished floors, and cheerful daytime crowd. Families, office workers, and tourists filled the room, enjoying milkshakes and warm meals under glowing lights. Mara Elridge had worked there for nearly 2 years, always taking the early shifts because they paid a little extra. She was young, quiet, and carried a softness that life had not been kind to. Her father had passed away suddenly, leaving her to support a sick mother and a younger brother still in school. Every shift mattered, every tip mattered, every smile she forced through exhaustion was an act of survival. That afternoon, Mara was assigned to a booth near the window where a group of wealthy young people sat, dressed in expensive clothes and surrounded by an air of entitlement. Among them was Celeste Rowan, a girl known in the city's elite circles for her lavish lifestyle and cruel confidence. She laughed loudly, recorded videos on her phone, and treated the diner like a stage built for her amusement. When Mara approached their table with a tray of drinks, her hands shook slightly, not from clumsiness but from the weight of working double shifts all week. One small misstep changed everything. As Mara placed a tall milkshake on the table, it tipped, spilling across the polished surface and onto Celeste's designer outfit. The sound of liquid splashing was followed by sharp laughter. The diner grew quiet as eyes turned toward the scene. Mara froze, her face draining of color as embarrassment washed over her. She reached for napkins, her hands moving fast, her head bowed in apology, though no words were spoken. Celeste stood up, her smile twisted with mockery. She made a show of looking at the mess, then at Mara, and then around the room as if inviting everyone to witness the spectacle. The humiliation was deliberate. Phones were raised, snickers echoed. Mara felt her chest tighten, her vision blur, and the familiar sting of tears burn behind her eyes. She wanted to disappear into the checkered floor beneath her feet. What no one noticed was the man standing near the counter, dressed in a tailored suit that didn't belong to an ordinary customer. His name was Adrian Varelli, though very few people dared to say it out loud. He was known in whispers as a mafia boss who ruled with discipline rather than chaos, a man whose power came from loyalty and an unbreakable code. He had walked into the diner earlier with a few associates, choosing a quiet booth not for attention but for observation. Adrian had grown up poor, washing dishes in places like this, learning early how cruel the world could be to those without protection. Adrian watched Mara's shoulders curl inward, the way shame weighed her down. He saw something familiar in her, a reflection of a younger version of himself, invisible and defenseless. The laughter around her felt wrong, sharp against the warmth of the daylight. Adrian did not raise his voice. He did not rush forward. He simply stood, and that alone shifted the air in the room. As Adrian stepped closer, his presence commanded attention without demand. Conversations faded. The laughter died. Even Celeste paused, sensing something she could not name. Adrian looked at the spilled milkshake, then at Mara's stained uniform, and finally at the faces of those enjoying the moment far too much. His expression was calm, but his eyes carried a depth that made people uncomfortable. Mara expected to be fired. She expected anger, blame, consequences she could not afford. Instead, she felt something unexpected when Adrian gently handed her a clean napkin from the counter. His gesture was small, almost invisible, but it grounded her. He motioned for her to step back, allowing her to breathe for the first time since the accident. Adrian turned his attention to the table. Without a single harsh movement, he took out his wallet and placed it on the table, open, filled with cash. He paid for every drink, every meal, and then far more. The action confused everyone. Why would a stranger do this? But then Adrian did something no one anticipated. He calmly explained that dignity was priceless, and that anyone who believed money gave them the right to humiliate another human being had misunderstood what wealth truly meant. The rich girl's confidence cracked. The room held its breath. Adrian did not threaten. He did not shout. He simply spoke with authority, reminding everyone that respect was not optional. The diner manager, watching from the back, rushed forward, not to punish Mara, but to apologize to her publicly. The power dynamic shifted completely. The humiliation that had been meant for a waitress now reflected back onto those who had caused it. Mara stood quietly, chairs finally falling, not from shame this time, but from relief. For the first time in years, someone had seen her not as disposable labor, but as a person worth defending. Adrian left a card on the counter, not with a phone number, but with an offer. If she ever wanted something more than survival, there would be a place for her somewhere safer, somewhere respectful. As Adrian and his associates walked out into the daylight, the diner slowly returned to life, but nothing felt the same. Celeste and her friends left without finishing their drinks, their laughter gone. The phones were lowered. The whispers began. Everyone there knew they had witnessed something rare, a moment where power was used not to dominate, but to protect. Mara finished her shift with a lighter heart. The stain on her uniform no longer mattered. For the first time, she imagined a future beyond endless shifts and silent suffering. Adrian's intervention did not magically solve her problems, but it gave her something she had been losing for a long time: hope. If this story has started to stir something inside you, if it reminds you of a time when kindness changed your path, or when someone stood up for you in your darkest moment, stay with us until the end. Weeks later, Mara received a call from the manager of a small, well-run cafe across town. It turned out Adrian had quietly arranged an opportunity for her, a job with better pay, safer hours, and room to grow. He never asked for thanks. He never returned. His impact lingered in the choices he made when no one expected him to care. Just before this story ends, take a moment to comment below and share what this moment meant to you or who it reminded you of. By the time Mara stepped into her new role, she carried herself differently. Not because life had suddenly become easy, but because someone had reminded her of her worth. And somewhere in the city, Adrian Varelli continued his life, feared by many, misunderstood by most, but guided by a quiet belief that real power was shown not in cruelty, but in mercy. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or made you see the world a little differently, please like this video, share it with others, and stay connected with Mafia Boss Tales. Sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones that remind us to be human.